20 years ago, I had a very, very special day. I was in England at the time, and our district had just visited Sherwood Forest. And we were all very busily trying to find evidence of Robin Hood and his merry band. It's a funny feeling when you visit a historical place, especially one in which you had read about when you're a youngster. So it was magical. After visiting Sherwood Forest, we had decided to stop in Nottingham, England, and go to a movie. This movie proved to be one of the great turning points in my personal life. The name of this film was Lawrence of Arabia. It's hard to believe that's 20 years old now. Lawrence of Arabia was the fascinating story of a man who practically became an Arab and led the Arab people in a great fight for their cause of justice and of being left alone by the British government. One of the opening scenes in this film showed Lawrence, played by Peter O'Toole, sitting in a barracks, and there were a group of soldiers gathered around him. And Lawrence was sitting there in the middle of that group at a table, and he had struck a match. And he held this match in front of his face, and bit by bit was inching his fingers up the match head until he extinguished it with his fingers. The soldiers were sitting there in amazement. One of them asked him, "Doesn't that hurt?" And Lawrence looked at the guy like he was nuts. And he said, "Of course it hurts." The trick is not to mind the pain. Of course it hurts. The trick is not to mind the pain. Lawrence had developed his self-discipline over his physical body to a tremendous degree. Later on in the film, he's riding out in the desert with one of the desert people, one of the Bedouins, played by Omar Sharif. And the sun in the Sahara is blazing down, and you can see the heat waves, and it's so dry that as you just sit there and watch it, you could just devour a glass of ice water. It's so hot. And Lawrence is there, fair-skinned, blonde, out in the middle of the Sahara, riding a camel, following this Bedouin. And the Bedouin stops, and he throws he throws Peter O'Toole a water bag. He says, "Here, drink." And as the close-up comes on, you can see Peter O'Toole's lips are swollen. He can't hardly talk because his tongue is so thick with thirst. And he's just shaking almost, and he puts that water bag up to his lips, and he just goes to drink, and then he stops and he looks over and he says, "Aren't you going to drink?" And Omar Sharif says, "I am a Bedouin." Which is to say, "No, I'm not going to drink. I'm a desert man." And Peter O'Toole looks at that water bag and he throws it back to him. He said, "When you drink, I'll drink." A great thrill went through me as I saw that scene unfold for the first time. Here is a man with refreshment, that which is most desirable on the entire face of the earth at that moment in his hands. And he consciously and on purpose turns his back on it. At that moment, a great respect was born between those two men. Lawrence of Arabia went on to become a great man because of this one great ability and talent of self-discipline, which led him to the top of a whole nation of people. Self-discipline. That thing that most of us desire deeply. It never becomes so apparent to us as when we fail to be self-disciplined. We scream at ourselves, weak. We put ourselves down, we diminish ourselves when we give in and are not self-disciplined. 20 years ago, that great desire, though I had known I had lacked it for many years, that great desire started burning inside of me to become self-disciplined. I had never learned that in my home. I had always taken the easy path, which is really opposite of self-discipline. I had always done pretty much what I wanted to do instead of what I ought to do. As I look back in my high school schoolwork, I remember vividly studying way into the wee hours the night before the report was due, cramming for an exam that we had been warned about for 6 weeks. And yeah, the last night before, trying to stuff all the knowledge into my head that I had not done before. Self-discipline in so many, many areas I lacked. After a while in the mission field, I learned to get about that much self-discipline. And about that much will carry anybody a long ways, because most people don't have but that much. And so basically, in order to become successful, all you had to do was have more self-discipline than the next guy. But it was still woefully short. One of the most comforting things I can tell all of you, to my discredit, is that it wasn't until after I was in my 30s that I achieved a certain degree of self-discipline in our business world. I swore an oath, after having this desire inside of me awaken, I swore an oath that all of my children would not have to go through the hell that I had to go through because I was weak, because I did not have the self-discipline. And I accepted, along with the responsibility of teaching these beautiful people that came into my family, that I would place as one of the most uppermost gifts, that acquired gift of self-discipline. What a very priceless thing. As one who did not have it for 30 years of his life, the joys of attaining self-discipline are limitless. To obtain self-discipline in one area spreads into many areas of your life. That's why you see so many people interested in taking up the art, or as it is correctly known, the discipline of karate. That's one reason I took it a few years ago. not only to know how to maim a person, which had its own private satisfaction of being able to know you're a weapon, you know, walking down the street, know you can take care of any 10 guys. But much more satisfying than the knowledge you can wipe out anybody, and literally know you can, was knowing that you undertook a task and acquired discipline as you go through the different katas and the different moves, and learning to do them with perfection. Great satisfaction. There is a thirst among people to have this, and yet a great desolation of acquiring it. So it is true in our business. May I share with you the results in my family with a couple of my children of trying to teach them and trying to work with them and trying to help them acquire themselves this gift of discipline. One of the greatest things that you can do, first off, is acquire control over your physical body. That has always been a rather large task for me in the area of dining. I don't feed and I don't eat. I dine and relish it. For over 20 years, I have been between 230 and 260 pounds. As of January this last year, just 6 months ago, I weighed in at the highest weight of my life, 260 pounds. And I was disgusted. I attempted very hard. All of these 20 years, every diet that came along, the quick weight loss diet, you know, high protein and 97 gallons of water a day. You never wandered far from public plumbing. Got about 3 hours of sleep at a session. Anyway. I've tried the high protein diets. I got so sick of boiled eggs, I cannot to this day eat a boiled egg because I lived on them. I tried every gimmick, every easy way out there was, until finally I said, that's enough. Cut down my proportions. I got sick too, and that helped. Cut down my proportions, left the table slightly hungry, and burned every single day calories. I am excited. I'm bragging a little. I know it. Humor me a little. I am excited to tell you that I have lost 60 pounds. I am now 200 pounds. Now I'm embarrassed. The reason I tell you that is most of you know how fat I was. And now, that is just one other discipline. Though I achieved other disciplines in that 20 years, I did not achieve discipline over my physical eating habits until just now. So it is a stage-by-stage process where we acquire discipline over certain other things. Today, I'd like to share with you the newly acquired discipline of my son Michael, and a discipline that has been accomplished for the last two and a half years by my son Sean. I am now working with my younger daughters, Elizabeth and Karen. Elizabeth is 4, Karen is 2. And we're progressing beautifully with them. Michael, would you come up front here with me, please? Mike, how old are you?
7.
Mike's 7 years old. You're going into the 2nd grade, aren't you? You just finished being in the 1st grade. Mike and I are pretty good friends, aren't we? You better say that. Michael, I am totally excited with right now because he is in the blossoming stage of his discipline, of overcoming the physical. It's important to understand that before you can achieve great things in the mind and in the spirit and in the ethereal, that you must first overcome the physical. It is a very simple process that the yogis in India have understood for centuries. That's why they lay down on their bed of nails. That's why they learn to control. Mike, I happen to know what your favorite drink is. It's red cream soda. What I want to do is provide a little motivation for you. If you hit 30 push-ups, you're going to taste that delicious banana-like flavor. Think that tastes pretty good? Okay. Mike, I'd like you to put your feet against that post so you won't slip. And I want you to do 30 push-ups. I'm going to set that right in front of you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Do 5 more. Do 35. 30, is that right? 31, 32, 33, 34. Do 5 more. Go to 40, Mike. 34, 36, 37, 38, 39. Do 5 more. Go to 45. 40. Come on. 41, 42, 43, 44. Go to 50, Mike. You can make 50. 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. You can do 55, Mike. 50. 51. 52. 53. Keep going. 54. Do 5 more. Go to 60. 55. Okay, Mike, 5 more. That's all. 5 more. Go for it. 56. 57. Come on, Mike, 3 more is all you've got. Come on. 58. 2 more. 59, Mike. 1 more. You got it. 1 more. 1 more. Go. All right. That's 15 more than he's ever done. And Michael, I am so proud of you, I can't even tell you. There's one other thing I'd like to share with you, Michael. And Let me tell you, those last 5 are sheer agony. When your body just won't go up and your arms are just quivering. That is definitely where the mind takes over. As I just 5 more, and then counted down the last 5. It was sheer willpower. Mike, there's one other thing I'd like to do. I'd like to tell you something about all of my children. All of them are ticklish. They are really ticklish. In fact, they're so ticklish that they can't even hardly stand it. And Michael is the most ticklish of all. He really is. He's more ticklish than any of our other kids have been. But I'd like to share with you something that takes, probably more willpower than he displayed in push-ups. Now, Mike, he can't even stand it, the thoughts of what I'm going to do. He can't. Now, Mike, I want you to set your mind, son. I want you to just set your mind. You're not going to be ticklish. You're not going to be ticklish. I want you to put your arms up in the air. And I want you to hold them there, no matter what, Mike. I don't want you to move. You're not going to be ticklish. Keep them up. Keep them up. Don't let them down. That's beautiful. I'm proud of you, son. Thank you. Sit down. And I want you to enjoy that.
And with your teeth, Mike.
Sean? David said, Mike, open it with your teeth. A year or so ago, we did the same thing with Sean. And 2 years ago, we did the same thing with Sean. Sean will typically, when he sets his mind to it, crank out 100 push-ups, that kind of thing. And he's still very young in physical stature. So we decided that we needed a more difficult challenge than push-ups and mere numbers. So I'd like to have Sean now demonstrate for you one of the most difficult physical feats anybody can do. And that is called a head push-up. And that is very simply where he puts his feet up in the air, he stands on his head, and he pushes his entire body weight vertically. And he does a number of those push-ups. And Sean, I'd like you to set in your mind 10 head push-ups. And then we'll try and work up from there and see how far you can go. I also happen to know what Sean's favorite drink is. It's also red cream soda, and it's very cool. And there are bubbles in there that trickle over the tongue. And it's delicious. And I'd like you to know that if you do 10 of them, I'm going to give you that. All right, Sean, let's get you set up here. There's a cushion for your head. And I'll just kind of hold your legs in place so you don't fall with no support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can do 3 more. 11, 12. You can do 2 more. You can get to 15. 13, 14. You can go to 20, Sean. I believe that. Now come on. 15. Only 5 more. 16. 17. 18, 19. Do as many over 20 as you can do, son. 20, maybe 25. 21. 22. Come on. Come on, Sean. 23. You only got 2 more, son. 24. 1 more, son. 25. 26. I don't believe this, you know. 27. 28. You wouldn't be going for 30, would you? 29. 30. All right, Sean. Good. You did 30 of them. What's the highest you've ever done?
23.
23 was the highest he'd ever done before. And to extend himself by 7 on those kind is incredible. Sean, I'm real proud of you. You go enjoy that. Tear the top off.
David, can I have a can of pop if I hold this up for 3 more minutes?
Yes, Douglas. May I ask for anyone in this room to come forward now and do some head push-ups, just to give you an idea of how difficult that task really is.
Well, I did one of them once.
John Eunice.
Would
Tim can. Get up there.
It's hard, all right. I've done it before.
I know Tim's a real athlete too. I gotta say, this is so difficult. You have no comprehension. Any of you that are watching this, you have to go home and try it to see if you can do one. I will tell you that more than half of you in this room cannot do one. I can't do but about 3. Would someone here like to try it? Tony, are you too shy? Tony? Tony's a good athlete too, I know that. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
All the way down.
20, we got along here, 21, 21, beautiful. Well done.
Nice going, kid.
Hello, Douglas. No. 21, that's incredible. That's incredible. I am blown away with a kid that size and that undeveloped to be able to do 30 of those. when his highest was 23, I prodded him to 25. I thought we could extend him by 2. But the last 5 were on sheer willpower and guts. We started this process with my oldest son, David, when he was 8 or 9 years old. We have done this every year to share with you that concept of self-discipline. There was a statement that was made by Melvin J. Evans, wherein he said, "The great scientific discoveries of the past 100 years have been as child's play compared with the titanic forces that will be released when man applies himself to the understanding and mastery of his own nature. If we could but learn to release our opportunities and potentials through self-discipline, we would make the world shudder," including New York Life and A.O. Williams. O.J. Simpson made a very wise statement when he said, "Fame is a vapor, popularity is an accident, and money takes wings. The only thing that endures is character." Oh, that I could have that gift in every area of my life of self-discipline. But I say today that there is one area of our lives collectively together that we must develop self-discipline in. And that is very simply by each single working day get 3 firm appointments. That is a discipline which does not take a lot of pain. It takes little. It is something each of us can handle. It is totally achievable by every person in this room. And yet, how many of our people have the discipline to get 3 appointments a day for 5 straight days? Much less 1 full month. Much less 1 full year. I offered soda pop to my children as a reward for achieving what we were talking about. We offer you thousands and tens of thousands of dollars to have the discipline to make 3 appointments a day, every single day. Why, that doesn't even touch the kind of pain the last 5 push-ups caused. That doesn't even touch the kind of sweat Michael put out as he achieved his push-ups. And yet we will endure far more pain of doing without. We will endure far more pain of bill collectors and insults and feelings of failure as we look our wives and our children in the face to avoid doing those little things called self-discipline. Isn't it funny when you sit back and talk about it like that? All makes it seem so kind of stupid for us not to do those things which will make us successful. President Heber J. Grant said it best of all when he said, "That which we persist in doing becomes easier." Not that the nature of the thing has changed, but our ability to do has increased. May each one of us awaken the fire inside of us and be able to say, it is time to take a stand against mediocrity, and for me to rise to the top by being self-disciplined. It is time for me to grow up and step to the head of my world. For you will indeed be at the head of your world if you'll learn this great mastery of self. It is my great desire that each one of you might remember a little piece of self-mastery. Michael learns it in the beginnings and grows. Sean builds upon building. And I see David at 160 pounds cranking out his 30 head push-ups. And I see the discipline David learned at Michael's age and younger spill over into his scholastic work, where he is an absolute A student, on the honor roll, on the dean's list, everything. Because he's different. Because he has self-discipline. And I love it so. Because it's still just a new thing to me. And if I can learn it at my elderly age, I'm sure all of you can also acquire that gift if you thirst for it. My fondest hopes, all of you will achieve one of the greatest titles on the face of the earth. Master of yourself. Thank you very much.